2 Chronicles chapter number 20, and God had spoke to the prophet and told the prophet to go and tell Jehoshaphat, and Jehu the son of Hananiah. I'm in chapter 19. The seer went out to meet him and said to King Jehoshaphat, shouldest thou help the ungodly and love them that hate the Lord? Therefore is wrath upon thee from before the Lord. And I love what verse 3 says. How many of you know that even when you make a mistake and when you fail and when you falter, God sees things in you? Because in verse 3 it says, nevertheless. Nevertheless. You know, I'm glad for the nevertheless. Because there have been times in my life whenever I have faltered. There have been I wish I could stand up here and tell you that I have never messed up. But I'm here to tell you, I want you to look at this pulpit today. I want you to look at this guy behind this pulpit. You know what? As far as the world is concerned, I'm a train wreck. But as far as God is concerned, I'm a train wreck that He has put back together. I'm like Humpty Dumpty. I fell off a wall. I had a great fall. But I'm here to tell you that God put me back together again. I walk with scars and I walk with bruises. But they're not there to say that I'm not an overcomer. They're there to remind me that God cares for me and He puts people back together. And the seer told him, he said, nevertheless, there are good things found in thee, in that thou hast taken away the groves out of the land and hast prepared thine heart to seek God. Boy, what a real principle. What a spiritual principle that is right there. You know what we ought to do, folks? We ought to look and do a little introspection today. We ought to begin to look within ourselves. And we ought to ask ourselves a tough question. Is my heart being prepared to seek the Lord? Am I prepared to seek Him no matter what comes my way? Jehoshaphat was a king who had taken down the altars of the groves, and he had continued the reforms that were set by those predecessors before him. And he continued to cry out to God, and he continued to try to do good. But sometimes, even when you try to do good, if you're not careful, the devil can trick you up. When that happens, listen, don't let your good be evil spoken of. Continue to fall on your face before God. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. I want to tell you today in verse number 1 of chapter 20, you see that something happened in the life of Jehoshaphat. There was a great crisis that hit his life. As a matter of fact, in the whole chapter 20, you find that he was faced with the greatest crisis of his life, the greatest crisis of his leadership, the greatest crisis of his kingdom. Jehoshaphat met a seemingly impossible circumstance in an exemplary manner. Let me ask you a question. How do you face your trouble? And let me just say this, a statement that you can write down if you want to. But how you face your trouble is going to determine the length you stay in it.